Countrywood Products. We now stock 5 styles of cabinetry for you to choose from.
When you need to save on discount windows, doors, and cabinetry, come to Norm's Bargain Barn. With locations in Shiloh and Fenton at the bottom of Gravois Bluffs. Visit normsbargainbarn.com.
That's normsbargainbarn.com.
This is the Verizon Extra Inning Show. Verizon, the most reliable 5G in St. Louis.
The pitch. Baker pops it up. First base side, foul territory. Steer has it, and this ballgame has come to an end. Baker fouls out, and the Reds earned a split in this series, winning on Monday, taking today's game. The Cardinals won the doubleheader yesterday. The final today, 9-1.
Splitting the 4-game series. Welcome in to the Extra Inning Show right here on KMOX. Just a idea of what's going on. So we're going to do a quick Extra Inning Show right here, and then in a few moments we'll bring Kevin Wheeler in, and that's when we're going to get started with the Redbird Rush Hour. It's going to be more like the Redbird Rush Hour and a half tonight, as we'll get going around 4:30 with that and take you all the way till 6 o'clock. But I have a couple things to do here on the Extra Inning Show before we jump to that. For those of you who are watching on the stream, you are not going to have to change the stream for the Redbird Rush Hour. We're doing the Extra Inning Show and Redbird Rush Hour together on one stream. Of course, the Extra Inning Show is being presented by Graybar. Graybar is your distributor for electrical and datacom needs. This is one of those games where it just never really felt like the Cardinals were all the way in it after the rain delay. And look, they were trailing when the rain started to come down. So I'm not telling you, if it wouldn't have rained, the Cardinals would have won this game. No, I'm not saying that whatsoever. It just felt like once the rain did come, what the Cardinals were able to do afterwards, it wasn't good enough to put together a winning effort. The bullpen does not line up when you only have your starter go 3 innings. And right now you don't have a long guy in the bullpen because of Steven Matz not being available in that role. So they don't have a long man out of the bullpen. You're going to the bullpen in the 4th inning. With all due respect to Matt Swanson and Riley O'Brien and John King, like these are not guys right now who I think you're really trusting to get big outs. And to that end, all of them gave up runs. In fact, all of them gave up multiple runs in the game. King gave up 2 runs. One was earned. But just a tough day from a pitching standpoint out of the bullpen. Liberatore was good, not great in his 3 innings, gave up the 2 runs on 2 hits. But we're probably focusing a little bit more on than we need to on pitching, because from an offensive standpoint, it just wasn't a good day. Cardinals scored just the 1 run on 3 hits today. They scored that 1 run in the 3rd inning to make it a game again, and then they just didn't have an answer. And you give some credit to Cincinnati's bullpen, and they ran out their A bullpen today with Ashcraft and Rogers being able to handle most of that. Ashcraft has a .57 ERA. Rogers has a 1.64. So those are guys who have been successful in their opportunities this year for Cincinnati. But at the same time, it kind of felt like the Cardinals are starting to get some better looks at Abbott, who at the very least they'd gotten him to run up his pitch count in his 4 innings. He was at 74, so he probably had 1 more inning before he was going to come out of the game. Do you get success against him in that 1 inning? I think the bigger deal here is the fact that you only got 3 innings out of Matthew Liberatore, and then the team just doesn't do much from an offensive standpoint. We are going to continue that conversation during the Redbird Rush Hour coming up in just a few moments. Do want to remind you, though, about what's on deck, which is presented by Chesterfield Fence and Deck. The sign you have the very best. ChesterfieldFence.com. Cardinals and Mets open up a 3-game weekend series tomorrow night at Busch Stadium. Going to be a crazy night in downtown St. Louis, all starting within 10-15 minutes of each other. The Cardinals, the Blues, and the Blackhawks, Battlehawks are all going to be playing against each other. Not against each other. What am I saying? They're all going to be playing at the exact same time. I need to get out of here and get to Redbird Rush Hour. But yeah, it's going to be a fun night tomorrow night on across downtown St. Louis with everything that's going on. Sonny Gray on the mound for the Cardinals. Right-handers 3-0 with a 3.60 ERA. Clay Holmes will go for the Mets. He is 3-1 with a 2.64 ERA, 7:15 first pitch, and coverage begins at 6:20. A reminder for you that we have been presented today by Graybar, as Graybar is your distributor for electrical and datacom needs. That's going to do it for a very shortened edition of the Extra Innings Show, but don't go anywhere, because up next we have the Redbird Rush Hour and a Half. That's going to be Kevin Wheeler and myself. We'll talk nothing but Cardinals baseball between now and 6 o'clock this evening. That's on the way in just a moment right here on KMOX.
Hey guys, Glover here from my friends at Underdog Fantasy Sports app. So I didn't know much about Underdog. And then they approached me a few months ago and said, hey, Dave, we'd love for you to be an endorser of our app. They walked me through the app. They taught me how to do it, which honestly, and you guys know me, I am not smart when it comes to anything technical. So I was really kind of worried about that. We had a Zoom call and I'm like, I'm going to look really stupid. I'm not going to be able to do this. Easy peasy. Pick a sport, pick a team, pick a player, 2, 3, 4, however many you want to put together. The more players you pick,
It kills weeds while protecting the harvest. Time and again, it has been approved by the EPA and by leading regulatory bodies around the world. It helps enable practices that reduce erosion and keep soil healthy, which is good for the earth. Farming's hard, but it's a little easier with glyphosate. Learn more at go.bayer.com/glyphosate. Paid for by Bayer.
You're listening to the Redbird Rush Hour on 104.1 KMOX.
All right, so we got a little extended edition of the Redbird Rush Hour today on 104.1 KMOX. Rain delays jacked everything up.
It did.
And but it's going to allow us to do some more baseball talk. In fact, this is going to mean quite a bit of baseball talk over the next few hours because you got Sports Open Line coming up from 6 till 8 after this. I want to encourage anybody tuning in on the stream, or if you're just listening, you want to text, join us, man. Throw out stuff if you want us to cover it. We've got our own set of plans, but we're always willing to alter and add or subtract something and move something in if you want to get into it. So it's 314-436-7900 if you want to text. And if you want to jump in on the stream, you can do that on Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube. Those things are all rocking and rolling right now. So a lot to go through today, Matt. I mean, we can just start with kind of a mixed bag for the 4 games in Cincinnati, right? Yesterday was phenomenal, sweeping the doubleheader. A lot of offense, a lot of power at the end of the first game, carrying that over into the first part of the second game. So getting 2 road wins in the same series is an improvement.
You doubled your road win total.
Right, for the whole season. So you got that, but obviously games 1 and 4 didn't go quite as well.
No, they didn't. And look, I think, interestingly enough, I'm looking at our text line. A lot of people are kind of understanding that it's not what we normally get from a text perspective. Got somebody that said, just not our day today. Didn't help with the rain delay that shortened Liberators' day. Go get the Mets tomorrow. Said 618 says, we were on the receiving end of being wiped out today. Everyone seemed to melt down after the rain. Maybe a good rest, and tomorrow is another day. Another text message. I understand Ollie wanted to keep pitching roster fresh for Mets game tomorrow. Somebody said, I guess it made it rough listening to the game today because yesterday was just phenomenal and so enjoyable, but that's baseball. So there seems to be this feeling from at least people who are texting in saying you feel good about splitting a 4-game series even against the Reds, and now you're back home and an opportunity to try to have some success against a really, really good Mets team, and then make sure that you do have success against the Pirates.
Yeah, we were kicking this around a little bit, with during the game, right? Because they went straight to Matt Swanson coming out of the rain delay, and then right into Riley O'Brien, and then eventually to John King. But by the time John King got in there, things had already kind of gotten away from them. And, there's a perspective where I would expected to get more of the why did they go straight to those guys in a 2-1 game rather than, one of their better guys. And it's an understandable question, but at some point you have to break the habit of always going to the same guys. And I don't mean break the habit. I mean, like, give them the break is the better way to put it. So now when we go into this series against the Mets, Maton will have had 3 days off. Mm-hmm. And Leahy will have only pitched once in 3 or 4 days. And obviously Helsley will be fresh. You didn't have to go to Romero again today. So it's only one time in 3 days for Romero. So at some point, that's going to have to happen. And that used to get a lot of complaints during the Tony La Russa days, where on a lot of days on a getaway day, he would put in all the bench guys or whatever. That's not what they did today. They played a lot of bench guys today, but because it was a left-handed pitcher, right, they were getting right-handed bats in there. But this was one of those days where I think it was, we've got to get innings somewhere out of Swanson and Orion. And what have we been talking about? You and I have talked about this for a week or two. When these guys are here, they have to pitch. Otherwise, you burn the other guys out. If that means that today goes like it went, well, you have 2 choices. You either deal with that. Well, no, you have 3 choices. You deal with that. You burn out your guys that you're going to need, or you're going to keep that cycle moving and you're going to try someone else here in the not too distant future. Yeah.
And look, you give a Matt Swanson an opportunity to pitch in a game that matters. There's some
little bit of a tryout
there.
Yeah.
I would argue, and I'm going to argue against this after I say what I'm about to say. In many ways, this is connected to the roster construction where you don't have a long guy out of the bullpen. That being said, if you did have a long guy out of the bullpen, it's probably Gordon Graceffo, and Graceffo was always going to give you the 4 or 5 innings that he gave you yesterday.
Man, was he good.
So he probably wouldn't have been available today, even if he was on the roster.
No.
So I don't know how you get around that. Like, I can sit here and say, well, it would have been nice to have a long guy afterwards, but really the only pitcher in the organization right now that profiles as a long guy, other than Steven Matz, who's currently in rotation, it really is Gordon Graceffo.
Yeah, and I don't know that you can afford a long guy with 6 starters.
you might not be able to.
I'm not sure you can pull that off if you're going to have a guy that's going to not be able to pitch. So now you're down, at that point, you're down to a 6-man bullpen for the number of days that long guy is down after doing what Graceffo did yesterday, as an example.
Right.
So even if, like, say, for example, the team would be, let's just say they did it for New York. It's not going to happen. Let's say they did it for New York. They swapped out Graceffo and O'Brien. Even if you did that, yeah, okay, Graceffo, if he goes out there and throws 3 innings, he's down for 3 or 4 days. So now you're down 2 guys in the pen. You only have 6 to cover anything during that time. And God forbid a starter has a 4-inning outing, because then you're going to be really in deep. And then this is modern baseball. This is not just a Cardinals thing. The Dodgers are dealing with this right now with all of their injuries. There are a lot of teams that have to dance this dance, and it's not ideal. It's definitely part of the difficulty. But what you really, look, the trick is, we all know, is have a better bullpen.
Right.
The teams that are doing this are the ones with that go 6 or 7 deep on quality in their bullpen. If you look at Cleveland's got quality up and down. If you look at Detroit, quality up and down. The Dodgers, quality up and down the bullpen, right? Their 6th and 7th guys are good, and they will use them. Ben Kasparius is a name you don't even know. He's out there throwing 97 with a splitty, and he's got a 2-something ERA or a 1-something ERA, and he's fantastic. So the quality is what's lacking at the back end, not the back end of the bullpen. That's the wrong way. At the bottom,
the end of the bullpen,
the bottom of the bullpen, right? The back end is what you can trust. Helsley, Maton, and so far Leahy's been really good. It's that those 3 or 4 guys, the 2 lefties, King and Romero, been up and down. Obviously, Roycroft and O'Brien are still unknowns. Great stuff, but unknowns. Munoz is still, these guys are all in the unknown category. So anybody that's going to fit in as the 6th, 7th reliever right now is an unknown, which leaves you open to a day like today.
It does. And it's hard to get past that. Like if you are valuing the 6-man rotation, everything you just said, Kevin, is right on. I mean, is there a scenario where you try to have 2 or 3 starters at Memphis who are like Gordon Graceffo, who you feel comfortable bringing up and being out of the bullpen? So if you have a Graceffo day where, you can get him right back to Memphis and then bring somebody else up to be the long guy and you hold him until you need him, but nobody does that. Like that's kind of crazy.
It's also hard to do.
Yeah.
Right.
And guys don't want to, it's not good for guys either. You got a young guy, you're going to let him start at Memphis, then you're going to bring him up until he's needed, and he's just going to sit there until there's a multiple inning situation, and then you're going to return him to Memphis to be a starter. Like that's not good for anybody.
I will say though, Graceffo looks good as a reliever.
Yeah.
I mean, he was 98 yesterday. I know he had some physical things last year that limited velocity, and maybe that's what we saw with the struggles for him, because the year before he was a story. He had come into spring training and he was upper 90s, and that wasn't what he had been before that. He'd put some work in to get there, and it kind of went away a little bit last year, but it seems to be back.
Yeah, I'm not trying to be dismissive of anybody else, but if you give me a platter with Swanson and O'Brien and Roycroft and Munoz and Graceffo, and you're saying pick one of these guys to go get an important out, I think right now I'm taking Graceffo.
I mean, again, it's hard to say that you're not basing that on yesterday, because you saw him in spring training a lot too. Yeah. So there's a lot more to it than just one outing in the big leagues. So there's a lot to get to. We have tons to cover today. I mean, so we got some more pitching side. We're going to talk more offense, good and bad, by the way, because there was both in this series. Games 1 and 3, games 1 and 4, the offense wasn't there. Games 2 and 3, the offense was. But we are going to spend some time later talking about the importance of power, how much this team needs to hit home runs to score runs. And it's not just them. It's not a Cardinals thing. It's a baseball thing. You got to have that. So stick around. We got a whole lot more coming your way. It's the Redbird Rush Hour. Matt Pauley and Kevin Wheeler with you on 104.1 KMOX.
Traffic from the MichaelsFlooringOutlet.com Traffic Center.
Well, we got delays out there and some trouble in the city. This traffic reports a service of Gloria Lou with your home sold.
And plays for the historic trophy. Get tickets now at stlcitysc.com/open cup.
All right, guys, let me tell you about Supplement Superstores. First and foremost, understand they have a phenomenal team at Supplement Superstores. They have the best employees. Not only are they friendly, like you'll walk in there, you'll feel at home, because even if you're a first timer, you get welcomed in. They ask if you want a bottle of water. They're going to walk you through and ask you questions on it. But here's what you have to understand. Everybody that works at Supplement Superstores is more than just somebody there to sell you something. They are certified sports nutrition specialists and personal trainers. They're experts to get you where you want to go. So you walk in the door if you're doing it for the first time. Now, if you're a veteran, you know, and by that time, if you're a veteran, they know your name. I've been going to Supplement Superstore since 2013, and every guy, every woman I've ever worked with there, they're phenomenal. And what they'll do is they'll talk to you about what you're trying to do. You're trying to get bigger in the gym. You're trying to lose some weight. Just want to feel better. They will walk through with you a simple eating plan, a workout routine, tweaks to your daily routine that can help you reach your goals. And that doesn't cost you anything. They do that for free. And then on top of that, of course, Supplement Superstores is always on the cutting edge of science, right? So when they have the top of the line products, and when there are new top of the line products coming out, they have those too. But they always have what you're looking for. But you can understand they're going to be at the front end of innovation. That's what they do. So trust me, get out and find a location. Get started down your path by going to supplementsuperstores.com.
I'm Maria Kina. This is KMOX, the voice of St. Louis.
You're listening to the Redbird Rush Hour on 104.1 KMOX.
An extended edition of the Redbird Rush Hour today. A little rain delay threw everything out of whack, so we get to talk a little more ball, and you guys get to join us. 314-436-7900. You can join us on the stream as well. Just throw in your comments, whether you're on Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube. You're welcome to do it. We got a couple of comments from YouTube that we want to get to here. We got a couple of, and we'll start with Walt, who we'll put this up on the screen too. Walt throws in a question, and for those listening on the radio, it says every player that's put at DH struggles in that game. It's talking about this year. You can't explain it other than Cardinals hitters are not suited to hit without playing the field. Could Herrera be the answer? A couple things. First of all, yes, Herrera could be an answer. In fact, long-term, maybe he is your DH. This year, I think you need him to catch. At least until
Jimmy Crooks is available.
At least some of the time. But I wouldn't go that far, Walt. I don't know what you think, Matt, but I don't think the problem is being at DH. I think the problem is they don't have enough good hitters at the moment. Because Gorman's not hitting well enough. Walker's not hitting well enough. Now, I know they're not always DHs, but Gorman is. Burleson's not hitting well enough. And Baker's not playing all that much. And when he hasn't done much this year. I know that Contreras has gotten an odd run in there, but he's also off to a terrible start. Like, he's been good the last week and a half, but for most of the year, he's not been good at all, whether he played first base or DH. So my argument would be that it's not so much because they're at DH. It's just that right now there are, and for the first month, there are just too many hitters not performing at the level you need to, regardless of whether they're DH, first base, second base, right field, whatever.
Yeah, I'm actually a little bit Team Walt on this one.
Are you?
Yeah, because two things. First off, you look at guys, their DH numbers versus their numbers when they're in the field, and it's still a tiny sample size, but for whatever reason, it feels like
I can't go based on 4 at bats or 6 or whatever.
Okay, well, let's go to my second thing. When I see DHs producing, I see guys who are DHs most of the time. Like in the DH era of the National League, the only time the Cardinals have really had success with the DH was when Albert was the DH for the second half of the season a couple years back.
Yeah.
And he was the D. Now we're talking about a Hall of Famer, but he was a DH every single day, and he had success with it. I think if I am building a team, I'd like to have a guy who's my DH 3 or 4 times a week, and then I use it as that half day off for guys 1 or 2 days a week, as opposed to what the Cardinals do, making it a more often thing than that.
Yeah, I'm torn because in the DH era, when have the Cardinals actually had a DH?
You get Albert. That's it.
That's what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
So, and by that question, I mean more, when's the last time they had 9 quality hitters?
Well, you can just tell Nolan Gorman, hey, you know what? You're not going to play in the field anymore. You're going to be the DH 80% of the time. And if Arenado needs a day, we'll throw you at third. If Donovan needs a day, we'll throw you at second. But basically, you're going to be our DH.
The added complicated factor here is that they have too many guys for too few spots.
Yes.
So they're already playing that move guys around because they're trying to fit 10 or 11 pieces into 9 lineup spots. And this is all still part of the fallout from not being able to move Nolan Arenado in the offseason and not having a plan other than that to move someone else if that didn't work to clear this up. Because as it is now, how does anybody get a chance to just play and get extended at bats when you're constantly like, okay, your turn, okay, your turn, okay, your turn. I don't know that the position part matters as much as the consistency of at bats. And how does Gorman get going, for example, when for the first 3 weeks he barely played?
Right, and that's where you to be willing to give Nolan Gorman the chance to be an everyday guy, you have to be willing to say to Alec Burleson or somebody else, you're not an everyday guy. So where's the value? At the end of this season, does it mean more to know who Nolan Gorman is or to know who Alec Burleson is? I would argue the value is in finding out who Nolan Gorman is.
Yeah, and look, if you look at their stats now, like just total production, and I don't know if this is after today or before today because I don't know if the site updated that I'm looking at, but Burleson is a 595 OPS and Nolan Gorman is 626. So there's basically no difference in what they've done. There's no argument that's saying based on what each guy's done, this guy should play over the other. So that makes that question, what you're asking, the ultimate question. Which guy do you need to find out more about? To me, that question comes down to who has the higher ceiling.
Which is clearly Gorman.
I think Burleson has the higher floor.
Yes.
He's going to put the ball in play. Now, he still makes too much weak contact because he swings at things he can't hit hard. Unfortunately, the problem for Gorman is he swings through things. So Burleson may put it into play weakly, and he doesn't hit for any power, but he's going to get a few extra singles here and there. Gorman's going to hit more power, but he's going to strike out more. And that's going to be what you're weighing, and you're trying to figure out. I think more. It's more important to figure out whether the possible 30 homer guy is going to figure it out versus the guy that might be 15 to 20 with a little bit higher average. But again, that's where they're kind of stuck. All right, we got another hour of the Redbird Rush Hour, followed by Sports Up the Line. Hang around, more baseball talk coming up on 104.1 KMOX.
Hey guys, Glover here for my friend Mike at Michael's Baths. So as you know, Mike competes with Bath Fitter and 3-Day Kitchen and Bath, but it's not really much of a competition because he does the same things that they do, very similar products. I believe we have much better labor because Mike's been doing this exclusively for 30 years, and he hires and trains every single craftsperson who works for him. While many of those companies are raising their prices due to the tariff uncertainty, Michael's Baths is doing the opposite. They're offering $500 off any shower or tub replacement, $1,000 off a full bathroom remodel, turning market challenges into savings for their customers. It's because Mike's a good guy. He's a local guy. You're supporting about 24 families when you use Michael's Baths. If you're a disabled veteran, you can get a free bathroom through a VA benefit that you have earned through your service. 636-775-0800, michaelsbaths.com.
Tired of battling pests? At Rottler Pest Solutions, we offer year-round protection from termites, mosquitoes, moles, and more. With flexible scheduling and 24/7 support, we're always here when you need us. Visit Rottler.com today to schedule your free inspection.
All right, guys, managing your lawn is not quite as tough as managing a pro sports team because, well, I mean, I can manage my lawn and I've never run a pro sports team, but I don't have to do it, which is kind of my point. I trust True Green. They have the expertise that it takes to get the job done right and to get it done right the first time. They're the official lawn care treatment provider of the PGA Tour. They've been the official lawn care treatment provider for my house for at least 12 years, probably closer to 15 or 16. I cannot remember a time when we didn't have True Green taking care of our lawn. All I have to do is make sure that it's cut. That's really all I have to do because everything else is done by True Green. They feed it. They do the fertilizer. They're the reason I don't have weeds all over the yard. And they're the reason that is a really nice, dark green, thick grass pretty much throughout the summer. All I have to do is cut it and make sure it's got some water when it gets to the dry time of the season. They back everything up with the satisfaction guarantee. And by the way, they're more affordable than you think because they match any competitor's price. Go to truegreen.com and you can let the pros do the work while you sit back and enjoy the results.
Johns Hopkins University has found that just mild hearing loss doubles your risk
Poplar's heavy as well. Next update at 5:20 from the michaelsflooringoutlet.com traffic center.
While you might not give a hoot about this week's space launch, you sure as sunshine care when your AC goes down. Well, good news, a Jerry Kelly per-producing tune-up is just 98 smackers right this very moment. $98.
JerryKelly.com. This is the Redbird Rush Hour on 104.1 KMOX.
All right, now we're into the regular edition of the Redbird Rush Hour on 104.1 KMOX. You can obviously join us. If you're listening on the radio, you know you're listening there. You can text us, 314-436-7900. You can throw in your comments by checking us out on the stream on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. Those are all still going strong right now. We'll get to some of those questions as we move along. It doesn't have to be questions. I always say questions. They could be just your thoughts. It doesn't matter. And we can react to those coming up in the rest of this hour. And then, of course, Sports Open Line from 6 until 8 tonight. All right, so this is right? We talked a little bit about this yesterday, Matt, but yesterday, actually, really this whole series showed us how much the home run matters for the Cardinals.
Yeah.
Right? The days they hit home runs, the games hit home runs, they score a lot of runs, they win. When they're not hitting home runs, they're not scoring very many runs. And that's really been the whole year. We mentioned, I think, yesterday, the stat that Ricky Horton threw out there during the broadcast yesterday, which was 16 home runs in the first 8 days, and they scored a lot of runs. And then only 8 home runs for the next 20 games, something along those lines. It's not exact, but it's something along those lines. And you can see that offense has been a lot more problematic. That's not a Cardinal thing. That's a Major League Baseball thing. And that's where I'm going to my conclusion here is, man, do they need Ivan Herrera. And think about this. Ivan Herrera is still second on the team in home runs. He has only played 7 games. He has not played since the first week of the season. And he's second on the team with 4 home runs, with Lars Nootbaar having 5. This team needs to find a way to hit more home runs. And one of those ways can be getting Herrera back. He homered today in Memphis.
Yeah, he's going to catch tomorrow.
Yep.
And I would assume if that goes well, there's a chance if we don't see him this weekend, we'll see him first thing next week.
Yeah.
So that's going to be good for this lineup to go get a guy who can almost flirt with an 800 OPS. Like he's in that neighborhood as a guy. And it feels like he's played more games. You're right. 7 games this year. I think if you went and asked most people, like, when was it that Herrera?
Right. You'd be like, it was like 2 weeks ago.
Because you remember the 4 home runs, like that's a lot of production from him in a short amount of time. So that's going to lengthen the lineup a lot. And that's going to be good for this team.
Yeah. And I know people hate hearing it. It's just a fact. You have to hit for power in the modern game because it's just really hard to string together hits.
Yeah.
And it's not, and I don't think the Cardinals have been overall. The offense hasn't been terrible. Like when you add it all up, it's not bad, but it's just not been consistent, right? It was real hot early, and it's been kind of less so more often than not the last 2 weeks. But the overall numbers aren't bad. I mean, 260 as a team is pretty good in modern baseball. 738 OPS is above average. That's an above average offense when you take it all into account. Unfortunately, a lot of it happened early. And then, of course, you have like 2 games yesterday where you blow it up. And then the 2 games surrounding that, you got a 1 spot.
Yeah, I take issue to your point with the consistency of what they've done offensively. But it will to your point, what they've done overall is fine. And if it stabilizes a little bit where it's not going to be quite as much up and down, all or nothing, then I think this can be a really good offensive club. Now, like we talked about earlier, Kevin, there's going to be some level of roller coaster all season long because you just have such a young group.
Yeah.
And that's going to happen. And I also, Ali talked about this the other day on the Gas House Gang. He talked specifically about how Jordan Walker is being pitched and some young guys are being pitched. He talked about the heat maps about, where they're at. And right now, I think somebody like a Jordan Walker and maybe a Nolan Gorman, but I think we can keep the conversation to Walker. These guys are being pitched in a way that's making it very challenging for them to hit, and they have to adjust back to it. And it's always a game of to be a longtime big leaguer. They're going to adjust to you. You're going to adjust to them. And it's going to be a constant back and forth. We're at a point right now where I think a guy that you're really relying on in Jordan Walker to be a guy who can help produce runs, he's at a spot where he's adjusting to pitching. And if he can get going a little bit, that can help things as well.
Here's the problem that I have with Walker. And again, I'm going to preface the problem with a little bit of a get out of jail free card. He's 22.
Sure.
Okay. Aaron Judge was in A-ball or double-A at age 22.
Yeah, he made his big league debut, I think, at 24 and wasn't good until he was 25.
This is kind of my point. This is not to say that Jordan Walker is going to be Aaron Judge. That's ridiculous. That's a horrific thing to put on somebody because Aaron Judge is an alien. The point is that not everybody is ready to be a consistent offensive producer at the age of 22. The problem is this is the same thing that he's had a problem with for 3 years.
Right.
This is not new. This isn't, oh boy, they figured this out. This has been going on since 2023. Now, what we have, though, is a young player. And we had John Hancock was in the building earlier from Hancock and Kelly, regular here on KMOX, great guy, huge baseball fan. We were talking about Jordan Walker. And I think, there's a part of this where we just have to accept that Jordan Walker may not be the real Jordan Walker for another couple of years.
Which that's going to be really...
He may not be that until he's 25 years old.
That's going to take... He's got to lift his level to a point, though, where you can still put him out there every day.
For sure.
At some point, Kevin, as much runway as you're giving him, there is a point where the runway runs out and you got to do something else. And the last thing I want to see the Cardinals do is give up on a guy.
Well, that's the point, right?
Who 2 years from now might be a really, really special
But
player.
there are all kinds of players that are not ready to hit major league pitching at age 22.
Most.
And I think that, right. And I think that the fact that he had the big spring, and actually, 2023, his total season wasn't bad.
No.
Because when he came back from that demotion, he was pretty good. And the overall numbers were well above average, and he was very productive. But it was also because he was making better swing decisions. This is the same thing, though. When he's had struggles, it's the same thing. It's sliders low and away. You have to lay off that pitch. And if you get called out on it, wonderful. They get you.
Yeah.
But stop giving them easy ones. And again, so much easier said than done. Like, it's easy to see. It's easy to say that needs to be fixed. It's not easy to do. And I want to give Walker the grace because he's 22. He's not 27. And look, Max Muncy was a borderline player. He's a AAA player until he was about 27. Sometimes good hitters just don't figure things. JD Martinez wasn't a regular major league player until he was 26, 27 years old. The Astros just let him go. And then look what he was after that. Now, he made some changes, right? But that doesn't mean that Walker can't make these adjustments. The nice thing is he doesn't have to change, the mechanics of his swing. He doesn't need to change. He doesn't need to get stronger.
No.
He's got the best bat speed in baseball outside of Aaron Judge. He's got one of the strongest arms in baseball. He's a plus runner. He's a plus defender for the moment. So he can still help you while he's learning, which is what is so cool about this year. I think he's going to be okay. But to me, he's got all the leash in the world because even if he stinks, you need him to be good at some point, and sometimes it just takes time.
Well, that goes to Nick's question, who asks, is him being up right now hurting him more than helping him? And I say absolutely no.
No.
We've moved past that.
I think so.
Yeah, we're at now again. There is a line where if he crosses it again, I think you reassess. But for the most part, they've already done the up and down thing with him. It's not hurting him being in the big leagues.
Now, the thing that you could do if we're getting to that line that you're talking about is you just start trying to pick spots for him that are more advantageous. So instead of playing every day, you're like, okay, you're going to play against lefties. We're going to play against guys that don't throw sliders or don't have good ones, right? So you would be more selective. But for now, I wouldn't do that because we got to see him try to come out on the other end of what he's been going through for about 10 days. Because before those 10 days, he was pretty good. So, I'm a fan. I want that guy to succeed. It's just, we're just going to have to live with it. And this is where the rest of the lineup has to be good enough to allow a 22-year-old to develop in the major leagues. All right, we got a lot to do here on the Redbird Rush Hour. Matt Pauley, Kevin Wheeler with you here. We'll get to your questions and comments coming up wherever you want to throw them at us. And obviously, more baseball here on your home for the Cardinals, KMOX.
Traffic from the MichaelsFlooringOutlet.com Traffic Center.
Well, we've cleared our eastbound crashes heading into the city. This traffic reports the service of Saks Financial, so eastbound
RDICUSA.com, Amazon, or ask for Active Liver at your local CVS. New you, new Nordic.
You're listening to the Redbird Rush Hour on 1041 KMOX.
All right, just a few minutes here, and obviously we got all the way up until 6 o'clock, and then Sports Open Line from 6 until 8 tonight. Matt Pauley, Kevin Wheeler with you here. I want to bring this up because on the opposite, not opposite, but really on the plus side compared to what we were talking about with Walker is Victor Scott. Again, not tearing the cover off the ball or anything, but you see a big home run yesterday, constant contributions, especially on the defensive side. It's great to see that he is the defender now in the big leagues that he was in the minor leagues before, because we didn't see this guy in the past, but maybe it's just comfort level and reps. But right now, he is in the top 4% of defenders in Major League Baseball in the outfield.
That's pretty good. And he's his route. It's the route running that's better,
and
right?
Jumps are a little better.
Like the raw speed to go make a catch. He's obviously always had.
Yeah, we talked about this. Right now, he's tied for the second fastest sprint speed in baseball.
Right. So he's very fast.
Yeah, he's right up there with the best guys.
But we're seeing now him be able to know what it's about. One of the things they really work on, Kevin, is the ability to put your head down and run to a spot and then pick the ball back up when you get to the spot, because you're able to run faster. If you're running and you've got your eyes on the ball and you're looking back, you're just going to run slower by doing that. So that is something that he and John Jay have spent a ton of time working on. And I think it's been, the results have been pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, again, the offense is going to be a little streaky, right? Like for a week or two, it was not great. Last couple of days, yesterday, of course, was phenomenal. That'll boost your numbers all by itself at this time of the year. But you're seeing a little pop. But to me, the best thing is when he's getting on, he's running.
Yeah.
I mean, he's on pace for 55, 60 steals on the season, which we haven't seen on this team in a long time. And, I would love to see more of it. I was glad to see Mason Wynn run a little bit yesterday, because if he could be a 30, 35 stolen base guy, we talk about power, Matt. If you can turn some singles and walks into doubles, you're simulating power. It's not, because when I say power, I don't just mean home runs. I mean, home runs, yes.
Extra bases.
But extra base hits are what cause multiple run innings.
This is how good Victor Scott has been on the bases, because he got to 10 stolen bases yesterday. He became the first Cardinal with 10 or more home runs or 10 or more stolen bases in the first 30 since Ray Lankford at 16 and 92. The record is Lou Brock, 22 and 74. Vince Coleman had 21 and 85 and 87. He is also the third Cardinal with 10 or more stolen bases in the first 30 games without being caught. Vince Coleman got to 14 without being caught in 89, and Brock got to 10 in 1969. Yeah. So right now, where he's already out in terms of single game early season records, there's three Cardinals: Victor Scott, Vince Coleman, Lou Brock.
Yeah. And one thing that's good, he's not hitting the ball as hard here in the regular season as he did in spring training.
Yeah.
But again, you're seeing better pitching in the big leagues, right? In the spring training, you're seeing a lot of minor league pitching. But one thing that's really good for him on the offensive side that bodes really well is he's not chasing. He's only got he is in the top 2/3 in baseball. He's in the top third in baseball in chase rate.
Mm-hmm.
So he's doing that. And for him, that's going to be critical, because that allows him to have an above average walk rate. If you run like that with an above average walk rate, that's going to be impact.
Yeah. And you look at his slug. I mean, he's not hitting the ball quite as hard, but 406, he's got the 2 home runs, he's got the 5 doubles, he's got the 1 triple. Like I'm very comfortable with his batted ball profile right now.
Absolutely. All right. And while he's today's Game Day Men's Health peak performer, he got the job done in the 9th inning yesterday. That's kind of what we're going off of, and you can get back to the top of your game with Game Day Men's Health. And speaking of that, I was in there this week, and you guys, I know making a decision to do something new can be a little daunting. So I just can't tell you, or I can't advise you enough to go ahead and just take the step. If you've been thinking, I'm not feeling the way that I want to, I don't have the energy I want to have, I'm not getting into the gym, or I'm not getting enough out of it, or I'm not sleeping well, or you're getting some mood swings, I cannot tell you how much the Game Day Men's Health can help you. So for me, typically the thing I deal with when I'm not right is I'm tired. My legs are heavy. I'm not doing my workouts the way that I want to. But also it's just kind of, you don't feel right. So ever since I've been with Game Day Men's Health, which has now been 2.5 months, that dead legs thing is absolutely gone. So here's what I'm saying to you. Check them out. GameDayMen'sHealth.com. Whether you're dealing with what I was, which is kind of that fatigue. And by the way, the The treatment for me, testosterone replacement therapy. They went in, did a consultation, they tested my blood, and I was low. My numbers were low. There's nothing I can do about that on my own. They have the solutions for that. They have the options for medical weight loss if you're interested in that. You can talk to them about peptides or ED treatments, anything. They've got, if it's men's health, they got you covered. And everything covered by is overseen by board-certified physicians. The staff are great. They're also trained experts in men's health. You get all upfront pricing, so you know exactly what everything costs right at that time when you're getting in there, and that's all there is. So you got locations in Chesterfield, O'Fallon, Missouri, Glen Carbon, Illinois. It's helped me a ton over these last couple of months, and I'm just at the beginning of all this. Go to GameDayMen'sHealth.com and get back to the top of your game with Game Day Men's Health.
Experience the exhilarating atmosphere of a Cardinals game. Join the sea of red in the wave around the stadium. Feel the rush of excitement as a home run lights up the sky with fireworks, bringing the whole ballpark to their feet. Nothing beats the thrill of watching the Cards get the W with the final out at the plate. It's more than a game. It's an experience. Visit Cardinals.com for tickets and info. St. Louis Cardinals for the Lou.
There is no better way to enjoy America's favorite pastime than cheering on the Cardinals with your family at Busch Stadium. From the thrill of watching the game to the kid-friendly activities, food, and fun, the ballpark has it all. Make magical memories as you cheer together for every home run, double play, and Cards win. Your family's summer tradition starts here at Busch Stadium. Grab your tickets today at Cardinals.com. St. Louis Cardinals for the Lou.
Attention. Have you racked up $10,000 or more in credit card debt? Are you barely getting by making minimum payments? With credit card debt reaching all-time highs, National Debt Relief is notifying consumers about significant debt relief options currently being made available to help those with overwhelming credit card debt. These options may reduce a large portion of credit card debt for those who qualify. You don't need to declare bankruptcy or take out a consolidation loan, and you may only have to pay back a fraction of what you owe, even if you have bad credit. National Debt Relief has already reduced the credit card debt for more than 550,000 consumers. So don't wait. If you owe $10, $20, or even $100,000 in credit card debt, you can now take advantage of this financial debt relief as the cost of living continues to skyrocket. To check what debt reduction you may qualify for, call 800-207-4545. That's 800-207-4545. Once again, that's 800-207-4545.
Traffic from the MichaelsFlooringOutlet.com Traffic Center.
Well, we still have traffic coming into the city. It's getting better, but there's still backup on eastbound 70. But right now, it's only from 170 in through to about Bermuda. Then it starts improving. Eastbound 64, you're still jammed midway from Lindbergh in through McKnight, and it runs to about Hanley. South 170 still bogged down at about Olive. Westbound 64 on the brakes. Kings Highway out to Clayton Skinker. Clarkson to Topgolf, slow. 364 out to 70 is busy. Westbound Highway 70, just the slow stuff. West of 79 through K and Bryan Road to Lake St. Louis, just kind of heavy off the pace. South 270 backs up. South of Page, Ladue, but remains slow through Manchester. After that, not so bad. Southbound 55.
628 all nines or CantorInjuryLaw.com. The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based on advertising.
You're listening to the Redbird Rush Hour on 1041 KMOX.
All right, Redbird Rush Hour, 1041 KMOX. Matt Pauley, Kevin Wheeler with you here. Matt, we got a question from Matt Rose on Twitter, who asked, has the season been a success so far after the first month when it comes to evaluation of 2026 and 2027? Other evaluations that would impact the coming years. I don't know if I could say success or failure. It's too early, but I can say that I think that we've learned some things that are going to be valuable for the future.
Yeah, I think of two guys in particular, Matthew Liberatore and Victor Scott II. And we just talked about Scott a little while ago. By giving them the quote-unquote runway, you've started to see what it could look like for those guys. Now, there's other players that you're not getting that as much from, like
Gorman and Walker.
Nolan Gorman.
Not yet, anyway. Right?
I mean, with Walker, he's got the runway.
And look, we've seen improvements too. Here's the way I would kind of view it on Walker to continue our discussion to where it would be. This would be a successful year. If he can remain an average to above average defender and then be around an average hitter, that's a good age 22 season to build off of.
Sure.
Somebody that you can look at and say, that's our right fielder next year. Maybe not our cleanup hitter. Maybe we think he's probably going to have to hit 7th or 8th or whatever. But you do need to buy him time because, again, it's not like every player's development is the same, and you don't want to move on from a guy who is top of the charts bat speed, top of the charts running speed, top of the charts arm strength. Like, you don't want to move on from that person. You want to give them the time that it takes to develop, and every guy is different.
You know, what's interesting to me, there's a lot of things, but there's a lot of people listening to us right now, Kevin, that say, don't care about bat speed, don't care about these sort of things. This guy's not going to make it, just cut your losses. But these are the same people that want to destroy the Cardinals when they do move on from somebody, and those people go perform at a high level somewhere else. So it's one or the other, because those other guys that they have moved on from, some of them had good underlying numbers, but they didn't have good baseball card numbers, and they moved on from them. And eventually the baseball card numbers caught up to what you would expect them to be. You've got to, you can't be on both sides of this. You can't criticize them about giving Nolan Gorman opportunities and then destroy the team because they traded Randy Arozarena.
No, that's right. I mean, and there are different reasons for said decisions, but yeah, you can't be mad at the team when everybody they move on gets better. Although it's not totally been true, right? I remember when Jack Flaherty went to Baltimore and he had the one great start, and they're like, see, Baltimore fixed him, and then he completely fell apart for the rest of the season.
Couldn't even start in the postseason.
It took Detroit to fix him.
Yeah.
And then he went and won a World Series with the Dodgers and then went back to Detroit. All right, so we're going to get to some more questions and comments. Feel free to throw them at us. You can do that if you're streaming. You can do that on Twitter. You can do that on YouTube and on Facebook. Of course, 314-436-7900 as well. We're going to come back on the other side of a quick hit and tell you what's going on with the roadways with Captain Roger Brand.
Traffic from the MichaelsFlooringOutlet.com Traffic Center.
Well, this traffic report's a service at Chesterfield Fence and Deck. We're getting longer delays on northbound 61. I mentioned that the closure of northbound 61 right at Highway V, and the jam goes back through Double K. I think that may be where they're diverting traffic off. Traffic's jammed not too far north of Troy now. The southbound's not as bad, but it is shut down in both directions there. Just be advised. If you're on westbound Highway 64, there's still some heavy traffic. Science Center out through McCausland and 364 out to 70 still slow. South 270 bogs down. South of Page, it goes all the way down to about Big Bend. After that, you're home free. South 170, bumper to bumper, Delmar to 64. North 170, Scudder through Airport Road's a little busy. Southbound 55, just a little slow at Bates, a little slow at McNutt. 64 both directions around the Poplar, and eastbound 70 east of the Musial Veterans Bridge. There's some slow traffic for Illinois motorists as well. Chesterfield Fence and Deck is your premier provider of fences, decks, patios, sunrooms, and more. Call them for a free estimate today. Now offering 48 months interest-free financing on your next outdoor project. Chesterfield Fence and Deck, chesterfieldfence.com. Next update at 5:50 from the MichaelsFlooringOutlet.com Traffic Center.
This is the Redbird Rush Hour on 1041 KMOX.
All right, we continue with the Redbird Rush Hour. Matt Pauley, Kevin Wheeler with you here to the top. Matt's got you from 6 until 8 with Sports Open Line. Couple things, Matt, and I think we touched on this briefly yesterday, but I know one of the things that we've learned in this month is how important the development of the younger guys is going to be. And I mean, like, the impact that they can have. This team this season will probably go as they go in terms of not just, I don't just mean the offensive guys. I even mean some of the younger-ish guys. And young can mean, in this case, inexperienced versus chronologically young. Okay, it doesn't mean 22-year-olds. It can mean somebody like Riley O'Brien, who's 29, 30, but inexperienced. So I'll just rephrase it, the inexperienced guys. Because the Cardinals' veterans on offense have kind of been what you would expect, except for Contreras. And, I think if he's Wilson Contreras, like the guy that we've seen in recent years, then this offense really picks up. Like, I think the most disappointing thing in April is probably him. To me, it is, because and that's he's been better the last 10 days. Like, sure, he's going in the right direction. But that's, to me, been the most disappointing thing. And if we had the regular Wilson Contreras that we've seen since he put on a Cardinals uniform, you probably got a couple more wins under your belt.
Maybe, depending on where that production comes from.
Just considering where he hits in the order and the impact that can have on other guys. And I'm not saying, like, I know he's not trying that. I know it's just baseball. Like, he can have, 3 bad weeks and then all of a sudden 3 or 4 good weeks and he's back to being Wilson Contreras. I think that's the difference between the offense being where you'd want it to be and being where it is now. And again, it's not bad now. It's just been inconsistent. Those first 10 games were crazy because you were getting your 7, 8, 9, 10 hits a game, scoring a bunch of runs, and then you've been kind of really up and down since that.
Your point about being up and down, totally valid. If we take a step back and look at the aggregate numbers,
no, they're all right.
If they end the season where they're at right now,
you'll be all right.
I'm totally fine with it. I'd like a little bit less fluctuation. I'd like a little bit less all or nothing, but I think that's going to come along with the season. I mean, they're a 256 hitting team right now. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 5th in Major League Baseball from an OPS standpoint. They're in the top 10 in baseball. So the numbers are fine. It's just how the numbers are being constructed that you take issue with.
Right. And also, like, the last 4 games that they've lost, they've scored 1 run.
Right.
So again, you have other games in there like yesterday where you have a 6 and a 9 spot and they're surrounded by 1s. And then you had the Milwaukee series where you lost 1 game when you scored 1 run, but you won when you scored 6. Although they did finally win a close game in the first game of that series, 3-2. But they've had a bunch of those. They've been shut out once. I mean, I can't even count. It's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games already where you've lost scoring 1 or none. That's a lot at this time of year.
It's a ton.
But that's my point, is they've also had, the big outputs, and that's what's balancing it out. So you're right, though, Matt. If this number that we're looking at, if that 730-ish OPS as a team, if that's what it looks like at the end of the year, the law of averages says for 5 months that will eventually balance out.
Right.
Right now, it's a little front-loaded, where it's been less the last 2 or 3 weeks, but boy, the first 10 days were awesome.
And if that's your number, you're a playoff contender.
Well,
I don't know if
we can expand on that, because right now, we talked about this in the offseason a lot. I know Bernie raised it a lot. The thing that could be undermining you is the bullpen.
Right. The pitching, what I was about to say is pitching obviously has to be better.
Right.
There's no way the bullpen has performed at such a low level outside of 3 guys. There's no way that continues on all season long. It's going to get better. So
sure about that?
Yes. Now, I don't think the starting pitching is going to stay as good as it's been right now. The starting
for the last two or three turns.
Right.
Yeah.
So the bullpen's not going to be as bad as it's been. The starting pitching's not going to be as good as it's been. Everything is going to come back to
convince me where the upside is on the bullpen as a whole, because I know that Maton's been good. I don't expect change there. I think Leahy has been good, but I don't know what to think there. Where are the guys that are going to figure it out and improve?
JoJo, I think, will improve.
Now, this has been a trend since about July of last year.
Yes, but also, what was it, August last year, where he kind of bumped back forward and then kind of fell back?
Yeah, but I mean, stuff has slipped.
Yeah.
His velo has not been what it was.
I agree. But I still...
I mean, is he got more in the tank?
Doesn't he have to turn back into the guy he's always been now? He's had slow starts before. Not this slow. So I'm not just giving him a free pass. But he has to get back to being the guy he was. But on the other side of that, Kevin, to your point, I'll argue for you for a second. When you're a John King and you pitch to contact so much, you're just going to have some unlucky years where a lot of stuff that one year happens to be fielded doesn't get fielded.
Yeah.
And maybe that's the year that he's about to have. I still continue to be very high on some of these guys who have yet to put it together at the big league level. I think Chris Roycroft's going to be a really good reliever in the big leagues. We've talked about Gordon Graceffo. There's a bunch of guys. So I think it's going to get better. Yes, I believe it.
Whew.
I just don't know.
I hope so.
Okay.
I don't see a lot of evidence of it, but I can see what you mean. Like there's ability, but I haven't seen a lot of performance. And, going back to Romero for a second. So 2023, he threw a lot. I mean, his sinker is probably his primary pitch. He throws a four-seamer, but the sinker's his primary fastball. 94.7 miles an hour in 2023, 94 last year, 92.9 right now.
They got to figure that out.
I mean, that's a really, look, in 2023, that pitch, opponents hit 220 against it and slugged 360. Right now, that's 308. And now the slug's not been that bad. Oh, no. Yeah. The slug's been kind of lucky because his slug is over 300, but the expected slug is 470 on it right now.
Yeah, and
which means he's had some loud outs.
Here, I'll argue for you again. I guess what would concern me, did they break him last year with how much they used him in the first half of the season?
I don't know.
That's if you are of the belief that JoJo Romero is not going to come back around, then I think you go back to the usage that they had on him in the first half of the season last year, and you say he just wasn't able to survive that.
John King's fastball sinker's also down about a mile an hour. I mean, again, that's not a ton, but a mile an hour is something.
What do you have the numbers in front of you on how it compares to the first month of last season?
I don't have the month. No,
okay.
I don't have that.
Because I think he's a guy who rounds into form.
Maybe so. And again, I hope that gets better, but I'm worried about the guys that aren't the big three. All right, stick around. We got one more segment to go, and then you got Sports Open Line after that. It's the Redbird Rush Hour on 104.1 KMOX.
When you retire, the paycheck from your job will likely stop.
MOX.
All right, Matt Pauley, Kevin Wheeler with you on the Redbird Rush Hour in a few minutes here. What do you got on the Sports Open Line? I almost called it the Sports Open Line
Sports
tonight.
Open Line. The Sports Open Line.
What you got on the Sports Open Line, Matt?
Like the Ohio State University. Tonight, Bernie's going to join us at
Nice.
6:20.
Good times.
A Battlehawks player is going to join us at 7:20. I don't know who
It's
yet.
me.
Is it you? You're going to play for the Battlehawks?
I might survive a game. Play. Maybe.
We'll have one of the folks from MLS season pass on. So we got a few different things. And obviously, lots of Cardinal talk, lots of Blues talk.
Nice.
After a tough one last night for the Blues. And looking
that
forward
stunk.
to tomorrow night at Enterprise.
Yeah.
What a crazy night it's going to be with those 3 games tomorrow with the Blues, the Cardinals, and the Battlehawks all starting their games at about the same time.
Man, be good. Those nights are fun, man.
Yeah.
There are a lot of, it's a blast. Just the vibe downtown is fun. You know, you wish you had more of it, but I mean, it's fine. We get a few of them here and there.
Somebody said this on social media. I wish I remember who, so it's not an original thought, but I've been running with it. There are a lot of like ushers and ticket takers who work all venues.
Yeah.
Where in the world are they getting people to
They
work?
must have like fill-ins or temps or like, you know, for people that are on call for somebody who's sick or whatever.
You know, when I was in Milwaukee, the provider for all those positions at the Milwaukee ballpark was the same provider that did the Minnesota Twins. And if the Brewers were off a weekend and the Twins were at home, they would put a bunch of people on buses and they would bus them to Minnesota to work those games. So maybe some people can get bussed in to be ticket takers at Busch Stadium.
All right, so let's talk Mets real quick. Obviously, the Mets are one of the best teams in baseball early. They've had one of the best starting rotations in baseball. Thankfully, you're missing Kodai Senga, who pitched today. It's not like you're getting any breaks with Holmes and McGill because they're both big stuff guys. But then there's nobody announced yet for Sunday for the Mets. At least I haven't seen one. So it should be. This will be a tough series, but because the Cardinals have been good at home, I don't think it's super daunting. I mean, if you win, you're not going to sweep or get swept. I wouldn't think. I would bet on this being, you know, a somewhat where you win 2 or lose or win 1 of the 2.
Yeah, I think that's likely. I think this Mets team is really good, by the way. Like, this is not just
This is totally surprising to me. I
Really?
thought they were going to be just okay. I didn't think they'd be as good as they've been.
I thought they were going to be pretty good. I don't know if I thought they were going to be 10 games over 500 on May 1st good, but I thought they were going to be really good. I'm also a honk for David Stearns.
Yeah,
I think the world of him. So
I just they lost 2 of their 5 starting pitchers in the spring training. It hasn't mattered at all.
Not at all. They've been really good. So it's a good test for the Cardinals. Good team where you play your best baseball and some pitching matchups that we talked to the other day about how often are the Cardinals going to be viewed as the favorite based off who the starting pitcher is going to be. And I like these matchups. I like Gray against Holmes. I think that's kind of a toss-up. I like Fetty against McGill. I think that's kind of a toss-up as well. And like you alluded to, we don't know for sure who the Mets are going to start on Sunday.
Yeah, McGill's just a guy. Like, what is the deal with that? Like, McGill is a guy that year in and year out, he's like in and out of the rotation. I guess he's had some health problems too, but he's 30. He throws like 98. And he strikes people out and then just I don't know if he's a late bloomer or a guy that's just had bad luck, but he's a big stuff guy.
Yeah. He's got a 1.74 ERA right now.
I know. And a lot of strikeouts to go with all of that. I would say this is a smaller point, and I think your opportunity for it is coming up. Probably not starting with the Mets, but maybe starting with Pittsburgh and then Washington on the road after that. Boy, it'd be nice to get a 4 or 5 game winning streak.
It would be.
You're going to need one to balance out that 5 game losing streak you just had.
You've played a really, really tough schedule, and now all of a sudden you look in the next month, you've got a series against Pittsburgh, Washington, Kansas City, Baltimore, Texas, another series against Kansas City.
Baltimore and Texas could be red hot.
Probably. I did not mention Detroit. Detroit's
they're pretty good.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
Yeah.
So you've got some good teams in there. You've got another series against Philadelphia on the road. So not easy.
But this next like week and a half, 2 weeks is a pretty big deal. Yeah. Philly and New York are tough. But outside of those 2, it's Pittsburgh, Washington, KC. And KC's had some problems.
Yeah.
So opportunities are there to make a little, like over these next 2 weeks, a chance to make up a little ground. It doesn't mean you will, and I'm not predicting it, just saying that opportunity exists.
You got to walk through the door.
Absolutely. All right, have fun on Sports Open Line, buddy.
Thanks.
That's Matt Pauley. I'm Kevin Wheeler. This has been the Redbird Rush Hour on your home for the Cardinals. Stay tuned. Sports Open Line coming up next on KMOX.
The legendary Fast Eddie of Fast Eddie's Bon Air and Cardinals.